meeting in the council chambers at the municipal building, and also some members will be via Zoom. Is there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to add the Ukrainian fundraiser.
Was there anything else? Perfect. Could I have a confirmation of the agenda, please? Merv, Jen, all those in favor? Perfect. Thank you very much. Is there any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Could I have an approval of the minutes of the meeting for June 7th, 2022?
Sure.
Perfect. Mayor Murphy, all those in favor? Awesome. Thank you very much. We do have a delegation today. We have Bruce and Ann from the County of Renfrew. And I guess we'll turn it over to Bruce or Ann to begin.
Thank you, Chair. I apologize for not being able to be there in person. We had some meetings that took place, but I do appreciate the ability to adapt with the technology that we have and to be here. And I think Ann is in the room with you, so that's great. So we do have in front of you, we've prepared a revised draft of the comprehensive zoning bylaw, and the revisions were based on conversations that we've had with your staff, as well as comments that we received from as a result of the circulation of the document, both from agencies and from members of the public. That the township did hold the required open house and zoning bylaw public meeting, and we did receive a lot of input. And so in front of you, you do have a summary of some of the comments that were received, and then also a staff recommendation. Sometimes we recommend to make changes to the bylaw, and sometimes we recommend to not make changes. So you do have in front of you a summary of those comments, and then also our recommendations. The document that you have in front of you for the actual zoning bylaw, that document has already incorporated the recommended changes. So where staff had made a recommended change, for example, removal of an environmental protection, that change has also already been done. And one of the things I did want to show as well is to almost do an unveiling. And actually one of the benefits of me being on Zoom is hopefully I have the ability to share my screen here. But if Chair, with your permission, can I share my screen?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to just find it here. Doesn't look like it's going to allow me to do it. 1 second here. Let me try something else. Screen 2. Are you seeing are you seeing a map?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so what Angie Schultz with our GIS division has done is she has created a website with the Township of Bon Cheval Valley zoning. What this will allow you to do is post this link on your website with your zoning bylaw, and it will allow your ratepayers or your chief building official or any other staff member to search the zoning bylaw digitally online. And so this is what one of the benefits that we were talking about when we're doing the work program is to being able to convert your zoning bylaw to this digital platform to make it clearer and easier to read for everybody, and it has a lot of advantages. So so this is the first attempt at it, and the county is in the process. I just want to say that it is draft right now, so we're trying to finalize it, but it is sort of like a working, I'll say, template of what it would eventually look like. Once you're there, you can zoom in, and the zoning bylaw will start to appear. So you can either just zoom in and move it around by area, and you can zoom right in onto an area to see that you have the property fabric that pops up with addresses, or you could click on it. So for example, you click on it, and here's the rural residential zone. You can see the area that's affected by that. Or if you wanted to find your address, you could also just find an address. So I'm not sure if council has, I can just randomly choose a address. You can see it starts to populate itself.
Bruce, you can use mine.
Okay.
1922 Foymount Road.
1922 Foymount Road. We choose it. If it goes to the property, and you can see that the property is zoned rural. And you're also impacted by one of our buffers, most likely from an aggregate resource. So you can click on the property and figure out that your property is zoned rural. So any ratepayer, or for example, a chief building official will get a building permit. They can type in the address or the location and go to the property and then clearly see the zone of the property. The other advantage that this allows is you can also compare it to air photography. So if a lot of the times the chief building official or planning staff will receive a comment saying, yeah, but where exactly is that zone on the property? By turning on the air photography, you have access to that and you can clearly see where the different zones are on the property versus the air photography versus the zoning, and figure out what the zone of the property is and whether or not you'd be able to build in that specific location.
That's amazing how up to date that is, because
Yeah.
that's our new garage.
Yeah, so that is up to 2020 is the air photography that we've used.
Wow.
So you can see it based on other properties. Here's an example of where, frequently it's usually the environmental protection zone. People would like to know what land is environmentally protected and where can they build. So here's an example where you can see that this grayed out areas is the environmental protection. And you can, if you turned off the zoning bylaw, you can see that the environmentally protected area follows these wetland features. And so that's the reason why they would be zoned in environmental protection. And so the areas that are outside of that is where you would be able to build, or those are the areas that are zoned rural. So it's going to be a useful tool, and it's almost ready to go. And hopefully it won't take very long after the township passes the zoning bylaw that we'll be able to provide this link to your staff to have available on your website for both public and staff's utilization. And hopefully it'll make everything just that much easier and accessible for everybody to understand how the zoning bylaw affects their property. So with that,
Slick.
Super.
I will I'm able to answer any questions that council has with regards to either the summary of the public comments that we've provided for you, or with regards to the overall bylaw that staff have prepared.
I guess one of the questions I had, Bruce, was it was on the one application for Demito and Grant.
Yes.
I guess my question for it was the determination that the EP zone would be removed. But I guess who makes that, choice or authority to do it?
Perhaps it's easier for me to answer this one by sharing my screen again using our website. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
So this is the property here. Whoops, sorry. Where is it? Right here. So we can zoom right in. So this black line, these black line here, those show property boundaries. And so you can see the environmental protection area that's already occurring here. This is actually on lands that are owned by either the township or OPG at this time. And you can see this land here, it's also owned by the township and OPG. So these aren't part of the applicant's lands. So they have or not the applicant, by Demito. They have one of these unique properties that was flooded, and a lot of their, property that they did own previously did get flooded. So they actually own out into the water. So what is blue now is actually part of it, showing as flooded lands. And these lands here, which were all used to be part of the environmental protection area, aren't actually their property. They are either flooded or owned by part of the township board allowance or controlled by Renfrew Power Generation. So when we zoom in, again, using that tool that we now have, we can turn off the zoning bylaw and the water features, and we can turn on the air photography. So you can see sort of what we look like. So here's their actual property boundary by the survey. You can see the property comes all the way out to here, and it's all flooded, all water, which is why it was environmental protection. And the flooded area and the wet area comes all the way down into here. And so the area that we did have as environmental protection was either flooded or it was within the 30-meter water setback, which also doesn't allow any development. So when we made the recommendation to remove that, it was on the basis that that 30-meter water setback already limits to is the greater extent of than that environmental protection area. So by removing this environmental protection area, it's not actually providing them any other additional restrictions on their property, or doesn't affect where they can build, because the 30-meter water setback is already the most restrictive. So we recommend that it be removed because at the end of the day, it's not going to have an impact on that. The environmental protection zoning was not going to limit them or have any impact on where they could build. It's the 30-meter water setback. So again, I'll just turn on the zoning bylaws so you can sort of see how that would affect their property. So this is where the environmental protection zone was before and up down in here. And so we've removed that, but at the end of the day, the 30-meter water setback from both sides is going to be the most restrictive impact on their property.
So Bruce, if the flooding increases on that property, the 30 meters is set now and not like 5 years from now if there's more flooding, or how does that work?
So this is within a controlled location. So you have the dam just downstream of it. So Renfrew Power Generation does have a limit to how high they are allowed to control that water to. So this is a location where we would not be anticipating like a large flooding because once it reaches a certain limit, RPG will have to release that water because they're only allowed to flood up to a certain limit. Obviously, if a storm or something that in excess of the 100-year flood or something like that happens, that's considered a natural disaster, and that's something that we're not really able to predict. But what we do is make sure that we ensure that they are built set back far enough away from those floodplains to meet today's regulations and requirements. In the event of a big massive storm that is unforeseen or that we can't predict, hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's always a possibility.
Yeah, well, that water is actually, that waterway is actually controlled by EGC, not RPG, because that's part of the
Sorry.
head pond for Eganville.
Sorry.
And I was just wondering where that original water, how many years was it before it receded there? Do we have that on file? Or because if the land was out into the creek, I'm just trying to get a handle on when that movement that they lost their land, and now that you can remove that and just use the 30-meter zoning as the boundary.
Well, yeah, we're not using the 30-meter as the boundary of the property, so that the property lines and what land titles considers them to own. The zoning bylaw does not change that. So what the zoning bylaw is doing is putting restrictions or identifying appropriate locations to build. And so the 30-meter water setback is not applied to any property line. It is applied to what's considered the high water mark. So wherever it is determined to be the high water mark, then the 30-meter water setback is applied to that location, regardless if it's crown water or if it's a wet area that's on a property. Then it's up to the township to go out and the chief building official to go out and determine where that high water mark is and then measure the 30-meter water setback from there. So again, going back to just the air photography, if you're to look at it, the site you're open,
There's surveys out further.
Yeah,
you can see that there's wet areas that come in here. So the 30-meter water setback would probably be measured from this location, even though the water is way back here. So the chief building official would essentially figure out where that high water mark is and go 30 meters in. And in this case, because it's a peninsula, you have 30 meters from here, you have 30 meters from here, and 30 meters from here. So it does start really restricting whereabouts a building could be located.
that makes sense, right? For flooding.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, thanks.
So this is a challenging property, and so given the existing constraints on it, the environmental protection zone that had been shown wasn't going to add any additional environmental protection area. So we felt it was okay to remove that EP zone for this property.
Okay, my question, Bruce, is regarding Michael Donahue's property
Yes.
and how it was changed based on basically, I guess it was ginseng is what he had said at the time. But it was also changed without his knowledge, and how much of the rest of our map may have had that happen to. That's a concern I have, because we do have a recommended change to the mapping in regards to Mike. And of course, we all know Mike's probably a little bit more informed with this type of stuff than the general public, Bruce. I just hope that we didn't lose anybody along the way and something that happened, like what happened here with Mike.
Absolutely. So I can make a couple of comments. So the first one about, well, I can address this particular situation in itself of how it happened, but as to your general provision about what happens if there are mistakes in the bylaw, and absolutely it happens. These bylaw, we're not going to be absolutely perfect. And so there are two sort of, I'll say, safety nets that are sort of built in. So one of them, there's a provision at the beginning of the bylaw where there's been an obvious mistake that's been made, that, or it's a typographical error or something, that we do have the ability to go in, and if it is like a truly, like it's a mistake that was made and it's completely wrong, we do have the ability to go in without further zoning bylaw amendment process and make a change to the bylaw. So we built that provision in. And then also typically generally after 1 year, whenever we have a new zoning bylaw like this, there's always some little nuances.
Housekeeping.
Right, little nuances that we want to fix up afterwards. So typically after a year, township staff and county staff will keep notes as to saying, here's some items that are not working very well. And we bring back a housekeeping bylaw for council to consider, saying, here's some tweaks that we'd like to make because it's not really working as intended. So those two, the combination of those two things, the housekeeping bylaw, then also the provision where is that if there is a mistake, that we have the ability to go in and fix it without an amendment to the bylaw. Hopefully that will rectify any of those problems, any future problems that might crop up that we didn't catch this first time. With regards to Mr. Donahue's property, what we think transpired was that there was, I'm not supposed to go into what the actual species was because it is under the Endangered Species Act and we're supposed to keep these locations hidden. So, but that's cat's out of the bag for that, I guess. But
Well, he did say it at the public meeting, so
yes, he did. So I'm not going to, I don't want to further go on to it, but there was a endangered species found in the area. And what happens is when that gets reported to the MNRF, they keep track of it and maintain a database. And one of the challenges when we're dealing with provincial data, and so when we build these zoning bylaws, we take a whole bunch of data sources and bring in data from all over the place. We'll take data from the province, we'll take data from MPAC, we'll take data from the county, we'll take data from the township, and we bring it all in and try to make it all work together. So what we think happened was we had that provincial data, and it was meant to be isolated to the Crown land, which you can see the Crown land area here. Hopefully you can see my mouse moving around. And what happened was because a result of different data layers and that they weren't 100% compatible with each other, when we tried to take the Crown data and then import it onto the impact layer, there's a little bit of a discrepancy and it just creeped on a little bit. And so that's why we made that change, because we think the intention was always to have that on the Crown land and not on the private property.
So that kind of is a follow-up to my second part of the question. As far as it goes on the Crown land, and I believe it was Rosanna D'Amito brought it up with and it really stuck out with me, was if there's a rezoning to take place on private property, is there a better way to reach people? Like now with Michael Donahue, like I say, he's privy to a lot of information ahead of time, but we're not all in that same category when it comes to just a generalized landowner. My fear with some of this, Bruce, and you can answer this question, I'm sure. What happens now if it slips through, in the next few years and you're not, in charge of, because obviously that was kind of almost a mistake in a way, I take it, Bruce, is that correct?
Yes.
So if it slips through and say 15 years from now, you're not around, were the original, drafters of this change, they will look at these maps and they will take it as the right map. That's one of the concerns that I just want to make sure that we don't, end up with something, because what will happen is maybe 15 years from now, Bruce, a new planner is in, they'll bring up this map, they'll look at it, and they'll take it as golden, so to speak, and not,
I think that's what Bruce was saying, is that they've given us a safety net at the very beginning of the zoning.
at the very beginning of it, but in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, that's what I'm trying to prevent, right? Because they're gonna say, well, this has been in place since. And since it happened in 2006 is when Michael had said that that was the last, he knew there was no EP regulations on it, but because he was the landowner then, that really concerns me with this whole thing, with the changes on the private property. On the crown, whatever, I'm not concerned about any crown land, but when it comes to an EP change on private property, I would like to see the public a little bit more, or the private landowner, informed before we go ahead with this.
So
I don't know how much more staff could have done to get the message out, unless they send personal letters to each resident, which could take, I don't know, and that was sort of saying,
But when it's on the private property, that's the part that, Rosanna did bring up a good point. I've been, thinking about that since our public meeting. And with this, happening.
and one of the challenges too is that we're the first. So other municipalities will benefit from comments made at our public meeting and our open house.
and through you, Chair, I just want to point, so there are the minimum requirements under the Planning Act that the township has to follow when providing notice. And I just wanted to point out that, through with council direction as well, that the township did go over and beyond the minimum requirements. It wasn't like the township was trying to hide or, get this bylaw passed without anybody knowing. So the township did provide notice both in tax bills so that every landowner had it. Notice went out on social media. The township has a recreation, I believe, flyer that goes out as well, and the information and notices of the upcoming meetings was put in that. So as well as on the township website. So the township went over and beyond just the minimum requirements, and every property owner in the township did receive notice of this process. As to any further corrections, I just pulled up, I'm sharing the screen. I hope you can see it. 1.97. typographical corrections. And so it essentially says, provided that the purpose and effect, the intent, meaning, and substance of the bylaw are in no way affected, the following technical revisions to the bylaw are permitted without a zoning bylaw amendment. So it does talk about, corrections of grammatical, dimensional, boundary, or mathematical or typographical errors. So for example, if Mr. Donahue on this situation occurred, did not come forward at the public meeting and did not bring this forward to us, and then at a later date, say next year, they came forward and said, I just saw that I have this EP on my property. I don't understand why it's there. And staff, we go back and look at it and say, why is this EP? And we discover a typographical error, or in this case, a dimensional error that should not have been there. This section of the bylaw, 1.97, allows us to go back and change it, correct it, without any further zoning bylaw amendments. So there's no further process. They wouldn't be required to pay a fee to the township. We wouldn't need to go through the process under the Planning Act or hold any public meeting. We could just make that correction. If it truly was a mistake, we can fix it.
So, and that's why I'm asking the question, Bruce, is just if it does happen or occur, you are able to see where it went wrong, even if the landowner didn't pick it up? Because that's the whole part of, my question is, so that, like I say, who knows where everybody's going to be in 10 or 15 years, that just so that we're not basically sterilizing someone's private property, because once you put an environmental protection area on it, that chunk is basically done. And where it shouldn't be, and that's a big part of my, as long as you guys can still come back and look and say, in 2006, it wasn't there. That's why.
That wording is very important.
It is, but as long as the
Yeah.
evidence is there prior to that, it doesn't get washed out, and we just go with the current.
I was gonna
As
say,
long as it's not time limited, and it doesn't appear to be time
No, it's
limited.
not.
At any time, 15, 20 years from now. it could be
Well,
done.
I would think 15 or 20 years from now, whatever council of the day is sitting here will have to redo their zoning bylaw.
No, but I'm just saying, if there's a graphic, graphical error, like it was 2006 to 2020, it's 14 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So, or
and it's not for lack of
16
trying.
years.
Again, Bruce, how long have we been working on the OP?
Oh, it was like felt like 10 years, I think, close to 10 years. It was a long
Yeah.
time.
Besides the flood, I think the OP took up most of the 3 years of me being warden. So,
But in 1.9.7, it says that like changes can be made, but I guess really the question would be is, yes, we hit our standards for notices, but at the open house, we still had people coming and saying this is the first time that they became aware of it. And the thing is like, to me, the most value from this is that having, since we are the first ones, it would be a good idea to probably have 1 or 2 or more open houses, even though there are a lot of work to put them on. I completely understand that, a lot of staff time. But the thing is like, look at the amount of residents that came out and the comments we got from the discussions and,
no, that was the public
or
meeting.
the public meeting, yes.
Yeah,
But still, like if we have an additional ones that people are able to present that, comment on, have the interaction with Bruce that we publicly do, maybe we do have to do multiple or have more avenues for that. That's what I'm saying, is if we're just hitting minimum standard, we're the ones setting the standards because we're the first ones for this. And we have an update since 2006. It's a big thing, especially when it does pertain to people's private property. So I guess in my question is like, are we comfortable with, after the last open house, do we want to commit to another one? Or what else can we do to inform our people? Because we heard again at the open house or the public meeting that this is the first time that the people came aware of it. And a lot of these people are well-known individuals and stuff that should have been informed. And you just look at the individuals, well, look at all the people that probably don't know the impacts it may have. And yes, they could change it, but it's kind of better to catch it, in my opinion, beforehand than following with paperwork afterwards, because then we end up with more delays.
I think that Bruce and the staff did an amazing job of taking queries and, we've got a resident in the gallery today that it was a very simple procedure to fix it. Not a lot of red tape. And I think that, in the spirit of the County of Renfrew trying to reduce red tape, I think that what Bruce is saying is that the language that they've put in protects our residents from being handcuffed by certain restrictions put on their private property. And I think that language in 1.97 is very important.
Through you, Chair, I did want to point out that this language is for errors. So if a property was mistakenly zoned or
Yeah.
there was a typographical error, then that is what would allow us to do those, essentially change it without any process. For example, we looked at today 2 different scenarios, one for Mr. Donahue and one for the Minko property. I would suggest that the Mr. Donahue's was an example of an error that, if we had caught that after the fact, that's an example where we could go in and fix it without any process. For the other property, I wouldn't suggest that was an error. We didn't recommend that the EP zoning be removed because it was miszoned or inappropriately zoned. We made the recommendation because at the end of the day, it really didn't have an impact on the usability or how that property could be used. That the areas that were zoned environmental protection under the draft are included in the 30-meter water setback anyways. So at the end of the day, we felt it was a reasonable compromise to have the environmental protection zone removed because it really didn't have an impact on how they could use the property. But I wouldn't consider that one an error per se, or a typographical error.
Any questions or more questions from council?
I think if Bruce just takes us through next steps.
Sure. So for the next steps, so council does have the bylaw in front of you. It ultimately is up to council's decision what to do next. So you can choose to proceed with passing the bylaw. It has been changed slightly based on those revisions that contained within the summary chart. So council would need to pass a resolution if you want to move ahead with passing the bylaw, essentially saying that you're satisfied with the the draft revisions, that they're minor and that you don't feel any additional notice to the public is required. Alternatively, if, as the chair suggested, the town council is of the opinion that you do want additional public consultation, then that is an option for council. You can defer the decision pending, further public meetings or whatever course council would like to do. Or alternatively, the one I don't recommend you do is just to refuse the zoning bylaw amendment application. So those are the three options that are available to council: approve it, defer it, or refuse the zoning bylaw amendment. And depending on the decision of council, that will trigger the next steps, which would be, for example, if council passes the zoning bylaw, we would provide notice of that passing to everybody who has participated to date in the process and advise them that the zoning bylaw amendment has been passed. And that would instigate or trigger a 20-day appeal period where any person who participated in the process would have the ability to appeal council's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal.
And I'm not against having another public meeting. However, we are going into summer. And I don't want to wait until September to have another public meeting, because then we could be into lame duck, and it would mean that the zoning bylaw wouldn't be adopted until after new council is sworn in.
It could still be adopted because it's not, planning is not.
Oh.
So it would be okay.
That's why you're the CAO.
But there are a lot of people waiting for this zoning bylaw to be passed to move forward with their projects because it is more flexible than the current one we have. So, and I'm not suggesting that council should pass it or not pass it. If council does not agree with it, then we should not pass it. We should move forward, whether with more public meetings or however council wants to move forward with deferring it. However, if you do defer it, I do feel that everyone that's put in comments, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, there have been changes made to their benefit. So they would lose those benefits, as well as the other people that are waiting for it to be passed to put in their building permits or to move forward with their development, because the new zoning bylaw actually benefits them over the old one. So I'm not sure who it's impacting negatively at this point. I have not heard from anyone that the new bylaw zoning is impacting them negatively over the old one. Not saying that, there shouldn't be, if council feels that the public have not been notified enough. Like I said, we sent it out with every tax bill. We sent it out in the newsletter. We published it. We've talked about it on YouTube multiple times, but that doesn't mean that if council feels we should have a further meeting and that the public is not informed, we can defer it and put that off, but I am pretty sure that as many as the people who have taken the time to ensure that they were informed and are anxiously awaiting it, that's going to definitely negatively affect them for the time being, because that will put them into next year's building projects, because we won't get it done past the appeal period in time. But however council chooses to move forward, we can defer it. It doesn't affect lame duck, or we could pass it, and then if errors come up, as Bruce said, we can still make those changes after the 20-day appeal period, or there is always the option of people to be able to apply for an amendment if they change their mind and want to use their property for something other than what it's proposed as for right now. But I realize there is a cost for that as well. So I haven't heard from anybody other than the people that have already put in comments saying, we only heard about this last minute, but they are aware they did put in comments. I haven't heard from anybody else saying they haven't had an opportunity, but I'm not saying there aren't people out there that haven't. There always are people that will miss it, unfortunately. So.
The only part I have is, there are a lot of super great points in this, right? But I still have some uneasy parts within it. And that's the only, there's a lot of good, but
It's going to impact no matter what you do.
The biggest concern I have is with the changing of the mapping. But I know when Bruce was here before, we talked about it, and he basically said this is just more or less a housekeeping cleanup for the mapping that changes for a lot of these sites, and people that have contacted me they're in total disagreement with that. But this is something that basically has come down from the province, right, Bruce? And we're just cleaning up the mapping for these increases in aggregate and increases in zoning for that.
So, yes, when the township already has these resources mapped in your current zoning bylaw. And you already have a separation distance already in the zoning bylaw. So right now, the current zoning bylaw has a separation distance of 150 and 300 meters for the different from a pit or from a quarry. When the county updated the official plan, originally the province had proposed a significant increase to the aggregate resource that was out on there. And Mayor Murphy has correctly and previously indicated that through the effort of county council and staff meeting with, with NPP Yakabuski and also with his other counterparts, the county through an amendment to that plan did bring back a revision, and significantly we were able to claw back and essentially keep the current resource areas as they were mapped. So the mapping that you have does not have any additional or new resource areas that have been enlarged. The only thing that has changed was the separation distance. So the existing 150 meter setback has been increased to 300, and the existing 300 meter setback for quarries has been increased to 500. So the mapping itself, the only thing that's changed on the mapping is that for the first time we're showing that buffer. So before it was just in the text would say that buffer existed. So now as you saw in the web application that we've created, now you can actually see the impact on private property, and maybe it's providing a more of a sticker shock almost to people as they realize the impact of these buffers. But I just want to reiterate, the areas that are indicated for mineral aggregate have not changed. The only thing that is changing is the buffer areas are increasing, but the areas themselves have not changed.
So what and who and why is the buffers expanded, Bruce? I like it. What's the reasoning behind it? I know we're talking about resources in the future, but why is it not sufficient? Because when I look at the Grattan map from previous time, there's a lot of Grattan with quarry. Why was it not sufficient? Did they ever explain to you, Bruce, why they had to go to the 500?
So my understanding is it's to match provincial guidelines and what they call areas of influence. So they put these are the distances that the province has determined that if you're beyond these distances, sensitive uses aren't going to be impacted by whatever that use is. So for a quarry, they're saying if you have a house that's more than 500 meters away from a quarry, that's likely a good enough separation distance that there's not going to be impacts from blasting or from noise or from dust, all those impacts that come with a quarry. If you're more than 500 meters away, there shouldn't be complaints and there shouldn't be a land use compatibility issue. So you put that minimum 500 meter setback in place to make sure that everything is separated accordingly so that there won't be complaints. Built into that is a process to reduce that, but that would be upon whoever's trying to do that development. So if a quarry wanted to, for example, get closer to a house, they would be responsible for doing studies in accordance with provincial requirements to show that how they could operate that quarry without having land use impacts on that house. Alternatively, if somebody wanted to create a new residential lot closer to a quarry, the onus would be on them to prove that by introducing a new house in that location, number one, that house isn't going to have any impact, or is not going to be negatively impacted by the quarry. But more importantly, number two is that the future or the use of that quarry is not going to be restricted or limited because they're too close to a house now. So for example, MOE guidelines for noise or blasting. If all of a sudden you have a house too close, that impacts their operation and how they can do business. So the intention is to keep these uses separated. And this is the number that the province has come up with by saying 500 meters is the appropriate distance. And as long as you're 500 meters, there should not be any impacts. But if you do want to get closer, then the appropriate study should be done to make sure that we're taking all the steps necessary to reduce or mitigate any potential impacts.
No, and that was Basil Rose who had, he had some questions about that. And you actually addressed a lot of his concerns were noise and dust and all the
That's
other
for
stuff
sure.
too at the same time. I've heard that a few times, so. No, and I'm glad you explained to me who directed the expansion, because that was also another question that I've been asked repeatedly. Who are responsible, because like I said, Grattan does have a lot of quarry. And if we do a 200-meter expansion on a buffer, it does reduce or may greatly impact in the future those areas, right?
And I think to your point, in your question, Tim, when we were going through the official plan of the county of Renfrew, it was like doing planning 101 in university. I mean, we had to learn all about what the provincial policy statement said and what the county of Renfrew was going to push back on to say, look, you can't look at us with an urban lens. These are the needs of the county of Renfrew. And so through our staff and, many wardens and a lot of back and forth to Toronto, meetings with Minister Clark, meetings with Minister Yakubuski. I mean, we pushed on, I believe, Bruce, am I right in saying there were about 22 different items?
Yes, at least I think, yes.
You know what, I might be low on that, but they were the ones that we felt were the most restrictive and just didn't fall into our rural environment. So I think that we got most of the things that we wanted out of the province. But again, we are creatures of the province, which is very, very, very frustrating. And if we could have pushed back on more, we would have, but I think we sort of took the win.
I think that is accurate.
What's that, Bruce?
That is accurate, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for backing me up, Bruce. And I'm sorry, planning is not my forte, so it took a lot to learn, why these rules were in place, and you just asked a very good question. But you brought up Basil, and he's had multiple problems
Well,
with the lack of the buffer zone.
so, and if you also have to, and not for trying to downplay anything on our end, but many of you have been involved in this for a long
years.
time.
Yeah,
And I'm not trying to take away from mine or Brent's or anybody here at the table's credit. There's a lot of new stuff for us to digest, Bruce, as well, and put things into perspective.
and it's a lot.
It's a lot, right?
And we're not
And that's why
planners.
I'm so glad you're here to answer the questions and stuff too, because like I hear a lot, and I don't want to be giving false information and making anybody else's job harder either at the same time, right? So
Tim is
that's why I
really
kinda
bad
hit
about
you.
giving fake news.
No, but that's why I'm not trying to play devil's advocate or anything, Bruce, but I do have to ask the hard questions that I've been asked to you, and you've been able to handle them very well, and I appreciate that, Bruce, for sure.
Is there any other questions?
No.
Perfect, okay. Well, Bruce, and thanks for coming, I guess, and have yourself a great rest of your day.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Ann. And you're not kidding. It is a lot to digest.
It is.
It is.
A lot of surprise.
Yeah. I'm just glad that there's some of the language has been cleaned up and that there's. That can stay open now, Kev. I think it was just a little noisy. Daryl was, I don't know, he was having like a party in his office or something.
We almost have to call bylaw.
That's right, exactly.
Take care. Thanks, Evan.
Right.
Kevin, come on up.
Can I just ask, go ahead there, Kevin. Does anybody have a paper agenda, extra one? I thought I did have one, but it's not. We have one extra now. Okay.
I don't have them.
I'll go back to the
And yet,
computer.
I don't have one either. I print
Computer's good
probably.
for you.
I like
Well,
paper.
after Kevin and Daryl's
That's it.
reports, then
Not much.
we'll get you a printed copy, no problem.
Thanks, Chair.
There's not
Yeah,
much of
no
that.
problem.
When
I was
you're,
gonna say,
He's a net stuck
Oh, I
with
know.
us for the next while, but he's
There's-
gotta get going, so.
there's not a heck of a lot.
Okay, Kevin? Go ahead.
Start with the arena, the fundraiser. Friday night was well attended, good response. I think I know the auction went very well, so everybody appreciated it. It was,
Did Kevin get a copy of the letter?
No.
Then can we move that up?
sure,
Because I'd like him to hear it.
sure.
So before you move on, with your indulgence, Mr. Chair, I'd like, number one, to say thank you so much. It was, despite the rain, it was a huge success. And I will say that we had a delegate from the Ukraine embassy join us. And his speech was bone chilling, for lack of a better term. We are absolutely not seeing all of the atrocities that are actually going on in the Ukraine. It was fascinating to listen to him. And he did present me with a real Ukrainian flag. And we can talk about that under new and unfinished business. We don't really know the protocols for hanging it, so, but I just wanted to I can open it up, it's huge. And on Friday night, I was on stage trying to hold it, and it was, I'm sure the picture Cherry got was very funny, because it's a real flag. So, it was a lovely fundraiser. Very well attended. That auction was incredible. But I think Annette would like to read something.
So we got an email, I can give you a copy of this, Kevin, if you want, afterwards. I sent it around to all of council, from the committee, from Gerald. And it says, thank you to Mayor Murphy and Councillor Buckwald for attending Friday's fundraiser for Ukraine, and also to Mayor Murphy and other local mayors who welcome Andrew Bookbeach
Yep.
and his wife Natalie, while the live auction went longer than expected due to the early evening rainfall and the overwhelming number of items donated. To hear the deputy head of missions speak about the horrors and atrocities occurring in his homeland brought tears to many people in the arena. His address was a real account of what is happening in Ukraine, much more in depth than what we can see in a 3-minute news clip. Unfortunately, the ambassador had to cancel her planned visit to Eganville due to an emergency meeting with all of the ambassadors that President Zelensky called the day before to provide them with others with updates on the invasion. When the embassy suggested presenting a Ukrainian flag at the conclusion of the official ceremonies Friday night, I recommended the flag be presented to our mayor to be flown at Town Hall to commemorate this event. He agreed, saying it would be a wonderful way to commemorate what Eganville and a much broader area had done for Ukraine. Prior to the guests leaving the arena, I had the opportunity to speak at length with Mrs. Bookvich. She was so appreciative of the generosity shown that night to her homeland. They would have stayed until the end had it not been for a young family back home in Ottawa. What really struck me were her departing words, and I quote, "My husband and I have attended many events in recent months for Ukraine in Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, and other Canadian cities. But nothing compares to this event tonight. I grew up in a small community in Ukraine, and small communities are made up of people with very generous hearts. You have a beautiful community and a lovely area, and as we drove around the village before arriving at the arena, we said we will be back with our 2 boys for a visit. I want to express sincere thanks to council for the use of the arena and agreeing to issue tax receipts. Special thanks to Kevin and his staff at the arena for their assistance in the days leading up to the event and for opening Saturday so that people could pick up items they purchased in the sale. To Dana for being among our volunteers Friday night, and to Chief Dave Murphy and his firefighters. I'm sorry I did not get their names, for handling parking details. I save my greatest thanks and appreciation for Annette and all of her assistants in liaising with council and working out other details behind the scenes. It was quite a touching experience to meet some of the many Ukrainians who have chosen to settle in Renfrew County. despite having to leave their homeland, walk away from everything they once owned, be separated from their families, and in numerous situations, husbands and fathers, and move to a new country, has to be an unimaginable experience. However, they are a resilient people, and despite the trauma this has caused in their lives, they managed to smile and be happy Friday night. So very appreciative of what this community was doing for them. I just learned Monday that 2 sisters, one with 2 daughters, and one of them a dentist, is coming to the area soon and are looking for accommodations. So if anyone knows of available housing, I would appreciate hearing from you. As of today, we have raised just over $90,000, and I'm confident that we will reach our unofficial goal of 100,000 by June 30th, when the campaign ends. It is a mere drop in the bucket to the overall needs of Ukraine, but it will provide much needed help to some people. In conclusion, I express my appreciation to everyone who played a role in making this event a success and showcasing Eganville as a welcome and generous community. Good things happen when people work toward a common goal. With thanks, Gerald Tracy.
Thanks, Annette. I just thought that you should be publicly thanked because I know that it was no small feat to get the arena ready and the bar and yeah. And then, of course, herding everybody outside, then herding everybody inside.
Question is, where did the auctioneer get yellow pants?
Oh, I think Terry made them. I mean, that woman is a saint. But when he was standing on stage and the Ukraine flag that the undersecretary brought, he matched it perfectly.
Yeah.
Which was really creepy. I think Terry made them though.
Seriously. No, it didn't all happen by ourselves. Like they were very willing to help out. Like I need a hand moving something or just to make things happen. Yeah, it was like, the community, like, went and above. So it was good to see. It was great to be a part of.
Thanks, Kevin.
Move on to Centennial Park. The fence is completed. The pictures didn't really show justice.
No.
We saw them. It looks much better than the picture I've taken anyways. But anyways, it's all completed there now. So we're very happy. We're glad to see it get completed. And so it was good. It was good. Overall maintenance there. We have one camera that's given us some trouble, so it's on warranty right now. So it's just going to be replaced. Village, the planters on the bridge, horticulture.
Oh,
yeah.
They are spectacular. And I was actually at a horticultural event last night and I thanked them for the beautiful job of the flowers on the bridge. Wow.
And the planters, they're like, they planted all the planters.
Yeah.
That's, overall maintenance just around town. I reached out to Sherry Miller about the reconciliation garden and anyways, would move forward and I just got a couple pictures. It just happened yesterday. It was up in topsoil, delivered on Friday. So
So the plan, guys, was that I was going to ask us all to meet down at the Truth and Reconciliation Garden because today is National Indigenous Day, being June 21st. Unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate with Sherry and her team. And the fact that she got it done yesterday was a bloody miracle. So I think we should all take a trip down. And I know that there's new signage going in as well for the Truth and Reconciliation and the Pollinator Garden,
right. Okay.
because some people don't know what the Pollinator Garden is. And yeah,
It's a natural.
yes, exactly. But thank you to Sherry Miller and her team. I'll send her a thank you note when we're done.
Of the Legion Field, splash pad, ball fields, and soccer fields are all getting used. We have both schools reaching out this year. Matter of fact, this week, the schools are using the facilities. So weather permitting, looks like it's going to be a great day to be at the splash pad and there's no volleyball, tennis courts, whatever they please. Foy mounts.
Are we still at the 8 to 10 month for playground structure?
Yes, you're still within that. Yeah.
So has it been ordered?
Yes. yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ETA, are you looking at like next March?
Probably so.
Or, okay, I was in Foynon over the weekend and I was asked about it.
Yeah.
And I said, it's been ordered, but
Yeah.
supply chain issues. And again, I wish I could just drive to Home Depot
Yeah,
right? But we're not allowed,
no,
okay? But I think it's good that you're still looking for grants. for
yeah,
it.
it was,
Yeah,
we're reaching out and, so anyways,
and thanks for the signs.
oh, okay, thank you. Well,
I was past the Cormac Park too, and it's been looking really good.
yes, yeah,
He's doing a really good job
Yeah.
of that. It's nice and clean and amazing.
And I like that she's put her food truck sign.
Right at the end.
Right at the end.
Yeah.
I love that.
No, but it's still clean. Like I went past it a few times and no, whoever you have looking
yeah.
after it.
Corey
Gary,
is,
that's right,
doing
yeah.
maintenance up there in Old Gary does
He's
an excellent job. Yeah.
The lawn looks like a golf green.
Yeah.
Takes pride and everything.
It really
Wow.
looks good up there for
But
sure.
I thought that was so funny, food truck ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, that is great, that's great cross promotion,
Oh, yeah.
right, for our little park and her little business.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Lake Clear, so we're gonna put the markers out at the Rotary Beach, or not Rotary Beach, but the beach, Beetle Beach, maybe this week or definitely for the long weekend. Prepare to sign up there, just fatigue. Curling rink, projects moving forward, Warren, or Walsh Brothers, were the project.
It's fantastic.
For discussion, then the walkway down at Buncher Caves, Jason and I went down, and looked at it, and material wise and labor with approximation around $5,000, like maybe probably two, like, no, that's just putting the pathway in.
That's not making it AODA approved.
What we're gonna try to achieve that is make it make it wide enough, 6 feet, and have lots of topsoil taper off. That we
Okay.
don't, and make the slope exceed the recommendations. And whole, because once you start with railings, railings are good, but if we can get away from it, we're gonna try, but.
Do you have any money in your budget? Does Jason have any money in his budget? It's sort of a partnership.
Oh, but also that close, what happens if you dump a bunch of topsoil right there?
Yes.
Is there not concern of erosion or going into it?
Well, we're thinking of not so much top, we're gonna put 4-inch blasted rock on the base of it and then maybe get some shouldering and put it on to hold it in and then put the topsoil on top of it. It's gonna be one of those things, see what happens, like, we're gonna make it.
Because you're gonna have to pack it, right? So.
Oh, yeah.
It's really packed.
Once you get
You're
gravel.
far
going
enough
on,
away. You're far enough away from the edge of the river there.
Oh,
That's my concern.
No, but I'm just thinking you get a water
Yeah, you would have space.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's, like, if you do a nice, make your pathway. and
Because
make it long enough,
on,
nice
on
taper.
both of those sides, you very unlikely that the river actually
Oh.
comes up because you have the high steep walls that are
Yeah, yeah.
on,
Okay.
on each of the banks, so,
Like,
so even.
my concern was runoff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That was, but I'm sure.
but
you
I
guys
think
thought
it's,
of that.
yeah, it's gonna have to be a,
I think we,
did they cut the guardrails in?
no, that's.
they
on
won't
us.
do that until we've agreed to do this.
Yeah.
And then they'll come in and do it.
Yeah.
I would think for 5,000, it would alleviate a lot of angst going on down there and help out the owners of that facility. Because I know that there's been a lot of angry messaging on social media. And I think that if we could get people down to the river for their wedding photos or just to take their kids down, I think 5,000 is very reasonable. I was worried that it was going to be more like 25,000. But I think that if we can get people down there this summer, I think it would be lovely, and I figure we can find the money in it.
Sure.
She's so agreeable.
How wide are they gonna open the guardrails?
Well, and
That's the issue, how are you gonna get in there?
well, the thing is, we looked at it and there's a post approximation of probably about 6 feet each way, so if they, now, that's whatever the county decides too. When they cut those poles, they'll put those and buttons, curves.
But that's not gonna allow you to get equipment in, you have to come in across the other property. and-
Well, we may have to
Yeah.
reach in a little further, get a skid steer and just scoop it in or whatever, but
To get the packet. I'm just- yeah.
Well, diesel plate, you just drop off.
I'm just
We could
amazed
turn a little
how
packet.
we no longer require that long of guardrail when it was initially put there.
Yeah,
That's,
Well,
You know, no, but it should have been up to a specification when it was
I-
installed, and now they're never gonna change the
I-
specifications.
They did
It's kind
different
of a-
guardrails on both sides, which is, to me, is totally amazing too.
No, but I think the contractor didn't realize at the time that the driveway down wasn't ours. And that's why they took the guardrail to where they did, because of the pitch of that hill. So that was, it was like
So-
when we met with Lee and Taylor, they said it's absolutely not a problem to cut it back.
So we overpaid the first time.
Yes, by about 6 feet.
Okay.
Or-
No, just trying to figure
Yeah, I think,
rationale to
they-
it, because they're brand new guardrails, and
Yeah,
They-
'cause-
now they're gonna be
and
taken
you-
back, and
Well, they're cutting them out. You're not.
that's what I
taking them out.
mean, so it's, did we need them in the first place then?
I think that they just took them.
No, it's legitimate.
Well,
They
well,
took them to a logical end, thinking that the driveway was ours.
Okay.
That's where the disconnect was.
You're. and
I'm not
really-
even sure that the county staff realized it wasn't ours.
And really, when you when you cut the guardrail like that, the county's gonna have to put some sort of.
Oh, blade against it,
blade
in
against
case
it,
somebody
because
runs into it.
When
Yeah.
somebody runs into it.
Oh my God,
solid
yeah,
like that,
safety hazard for sure.
Yeah, it's a huge safety hazard when it's come open, so.
We'll leave that with you and Jason to make sure that it's done safely. But yeah,
So,
it's,
so this is moving forward this year, what you're saying? Providing we get, the county does their portion and we do our, is that what you're directing?
personally, I would love to see it done because I've had a lot of people reach out, but I will leave it up to the rest of council.
Well, if county can do it this year, then not as well. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, Cheryl Caulfield is planning to run, or she is running a day camp up at the Legion Field. And what she's looking for is a backup plan if it rains. And she was inquiring about the use of the ice surface. And she goes to other places and there's no charge for this, for them to use it. I don't have a problem. She didn't sound too concerned because I said, well, how much space do you need? And I was thinking we could do the same thing as we did with the live auction or with the silent auction was, Jen. We could let them have that portion
Mhm.
and there's not a whole lot of extra labor on our side because it's
They're
open.
contained.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and this is only a backup plan,
Just in case it rains.
just in
Yeah.
case, right, only a backup plan.
No, and she and another mother have both reached out to me about this idea. And the idea was to use the youth center, obviously. But you can only do so much in the youth center. Like you could do arts and crafts or you could do a little cooking thing. But if they want to play like, you know, have a little basketball or whatever, then the arena does make sense.
So anyways, I guess what I'm looking for is we're on, only if it's a backup, there'd be no charge for that space like that for that.
But can we also open up the youth center for her?
Yeah, absolutely, depends what she wants to use
Okay.
it for.
Okay. But the washrooms are open.
Oh, the washrooms are
Okay.
open. And if we do open the youth center, it's gonna need, like the upstairs portion of it, we're gonna have to give it a quite a cleaning because it hasn't been utilized, for the past number of years.
3 years.
So,
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay, can you let us know what she's thinking then?
okay.
But I'm definitely okay with.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, but
Whatever works out for that.
Yeah, beaver tails, we haven't had a problem in the past, Nick's just reaching out again. July 8th, 9th, and 10th, and October 7th, down to tourist information booth. I'll contact the homeowners like I did in the past, just let them know there hasn't been any problems there in the past, so.
it's that Thanksgiving weekend.
Weekend before, right?
I'm not 100% sure on that, Jim.
No, I think that's.
Or
The
it is-
second weekend in
That's
October.
October.
Maybe, yeah,
That's
it's
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving weekend. But anyway, yeah, no, they've contributed to,
Oh, this is going on like year 4 now.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
And,
that sounds good.
and they donate back to whatever.
That's what I'm saying, they
so,
contributed to the municipality.
It's a crowd favorite.
Absolutely.
And I've met with Tracy and Sandra about the youth committee. Anyways, we've talked over a few options. Annette and I are meeting again tomorrow night with Tracy, or what should say with Sandra, just to go over a few other.
And we're having a full committee meeting on Thursday, no. Tomorrow afternoon.
Anyways, well, after a meeting tomorrow night, we'll have seen what direction we want to go in and what options we have and what's on the table. I was up seeing Paul Prince the other night for soccer, and anyways, I sent some pictures around what Paul has to take home and leave on his trailer. So I said I'd come back again, so I know I brought it up to you earlier, so.
Yeah, I had a good chat with Paul as well. Paul brought it to my attention, and absolutely, we mentioned it before, there's always been, a really good group of core volunteers that are always there you can count on, and I know Paul's overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. It is a lot of equipment, and I would recommend that if we can find it in our budget to get a good quality shed of some sort up there for that stuff, I would support that 110%, because this way he can take a break maybe from it and someone else can look after it for the odd time. So
Yeah.
that makes total sense, and it's our stuff,
That
right?
we can get from Home Hardware. We don't have
So,
to order it special for 10 months.
oh, well, yeah, but we also want to make it so
No,
that
no, no, I
it's not going to be the local target for, kids to get into or whatever, or something may happen. But if there's a place where we can store that amount of equipment,
Or at least find exit space for this year.
I still want to know what's in that building.
it's gotta be close to the Legion Field though, because it'd have to be lugged, right? So
Yeah,
that's the only
he's got a
thing.
fair bit of, well, he's got a little trailer, 6x10, and it's.
Yeah,
it's-
no.
So is he suggesting that a little building go down by the soccer?
Break.
Yes, we have to have
Oh,
a
yeah,
sock,
makes sense.
yeah, we have to
Yeah.
have something there to store the equipment.
Next year,
Secure.
those bleachers
No.
pretty much scheduled for,
Actually,
or is it this year that we scheduled for them, right?
I had one scheduled, just delivered here last week, so things are
Yeah.
moving
The nets
again.
and everything,
It's opening
right?
up,
Yeah.
so-
There's a lot of
absolutely.
stuff. The Paul coaches my daughter. so,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of material
No,
and stuff, so.
But it doesn't make sense to let, now that I just said, I'd love to know what's in that building. That's quite a hike with some nets.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like I
Oh,
assume
there's all
he
the stuff.
drives in as far as he
Yeah,
can
the
with his
trailer.
trailer.
Yeah, he drives
Yeah,
right in with the trailer.
yeah, okay,
No, it's a lot of stuff.
yeah.
So I guess the best way would be incorporate somehow in the bleachers, I guess, just, or like that to that end of it.
Get a
or,
sea
like,
can.
Where are you thinking of putting it?
We could,
Well, I was.
Is it
We
possible?
secure.
Well, that's probably the best bet.
yeah, that's not a bad idea.
You can get a sea can up there, paint it nice for a couple of your students, right? Put some nice flowers and stuff on it or whatever it may be,
Yeah,
over in the corner, and
Sea cans are getting expensive.
They're not cheap, though.
they're not, but
There
it's secure, right? And, right? What's this now?
she said it would only be permitted in the new bylaw. They're not permitted now.
Oh,
Yeah, no one's complained about it.
easy there. We understand your authority, there's no use saying, go on here.
But it's actually, a sea can would be secure, solid. and they-
Absolutely,
And they can be. I
no
mean,
rodents, right?
No rodents, but also, they can be painted like really
Well, that's
cool,
what I'm
like
saying, like the.
almost street art
Or the stuff that's at the splash pad, those little trees,
Exactly.
make it look like a cartoon.
EGC gets a building, I have a sea can.
Oh my God. You see the lobbying going on?
Well, maybe we'll just borrow the sea can from you.
Fine.
What's in that one?
Yeah, really.
Generators.
Oh,
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, we're not
Gas
leaving them
cans
out.
and all that stuff.
No,
gotcha.
so how can we because we didn't budget for this, is there anywhere where we could allot that for Kevin?
Reserves?
I think the price of a sea can now is gonna shock you.
Yeah,
Oh, I know, they're crazy. They're probably closer to 6.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah. No. That's for a new one is $6,000
Yeah. they're
for
not-
a 20-foot,
My,
but you only have to buy it once.
my view is on a garden shed, get something that's big enough, but not too big that somebody else wants to encroach with you.
You want it secure enough that it's,
That's why I like
Wind-
this.
No.
Wind resistant,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
And-
Kev,
Leave
maybe
that.
give us a few options,
Yeah,
right?
find out and see, but like I say, I like the fact that the rodents aren't gonna chew up the equipment and you're not gonna worry about, that's the only part about those I like. They do work.
And
But I guess the problem is we aren't gonna reconvene until mid-July. Paul probably wants an answer. for this
I
year.
think, I'm not speaking for Paul, but I think Paul, if I go back to Paul, say, okay, Paul, this is what we're proceeding towards.
Mhm.
I think, like, if he sees that we're moving forward, I think he will.
Okay.
okay,
But
So-
like,
you could phone Dale Robinson, who owns, the warden's husband. What is the big, huge trucking company? Cassidy's, thank you.
Cassidy's.
I was gonna say Kavanaugh's and I knew it was wrong.
That's where we got, EGC got theirs from.
yeah,
And then maybe they could have a used one.
That's what I was just gonna say.
they have good used ones out there and you're gonna see them back up, but for a while they dried up on the market, because I was looking for one myself too, so. Hence the knowledge of the price, right?
Leave it with,
No,
we'll leave it with
leave
you,
it with
Ke- we'll
me.
leave it with Kevin.
Okay.
Something that'll look nice as well.
We can have a team building exercise. We'll go up and paint it.
The museum, Suzanne Shearer popped in to see me yesterday. They're hoping to do some music in the park on Sunday afternoons. Just hit and miss, maybe once in July, once in August. Anyways, if it rains out, we're wondering if they could use the Eagle's Nest, and I guess,
Yes,
yes.
Perfect.
like,
Yeah.
the more events that we can get going
Yeah.
after the 2.5 years we've had, let's just do it.
Well, people are craving.
Oh,
Perfect. What else you got for us, Kevin?
Dana's report.
Looks pretty good.
yeah,
Okay, there was a couple items that I had flagged here. The farmer's market has started up last Friday. I didn't make up, but I'm hearing it was okay, but busy enough.
Yeah, they have 5 vendors.
Is that okay? Yeah. Music in the Park starts this Friday night.
it's fantastic.
I've reached out to possibly an individual that may set up a hot dog stand. See what goes on with that. I'm not sure if the individual's available this week, but we're touching base to see where we're.
Well, that's
testing hot
good.
dogs.
Sure.
So
Great.
Where are they looking at setting up?
I think just inside the gate at the front of the rink, right there, and people walk in and. it
Oh, that's a
was-
great idea.
It's so,
And
it's
love
not,
street meat.
Oh, cheapers, yeah.
so that's, I'm working on that.
Get my big barbecue down there.
The Authors Festival every Monday night upstairs. Sand sculpture contest is happening again. And new business, this is news to me, pick up new gift shop up here. It's
Yeah.
great to hear. So that's something new, and all shop local businesses are participating. So we are following with that program. And I think that was kind of the highlights that Dana sort of jogged down to newsletter. I'm sure I missed out. The newsletter's going out the July 1st. So. Other than that, I think that's pretty much my report.
Any questions from council for Kevin? Perfect. Well, have yourself a great day there, Kevin.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, wrap up for this. Daryl, come on up.
Yeah, I got
Oh, I didn't know.
Larry's calling off on 2 or 3 phones.
Gotta get her to get some crap.
Going good, Daryl? Going good?
Yeah, everything's going well.
Perfect.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Darrell.
So I may jump around a little bit, but we'll start with bylaw enforcement. So there has been a couple issues that I've been dealing with, and for the most part, people are very compliant. I send out letters, I start with letters and pictures, and I give them the bylaw, and I show them what issues they're facing, and for the most part, nobody's really pushing back. The one in Grattan, I've been working with that property owner, and we are coming to a resolution. So that will be taken care of. So, which is very much a positive. And what I have been doing is I have a complaint form. I'll either take a detailed email or a complaint form. What it does is it keeps me on track, so I can put in updates as I go, and it keeps me, so I don't forget about these things. I have them in file, so I can always refer to them as I need to. So, and if at some point, I mean, if you guys ever want to see what's going on, I could definitely share it with you. With animal control, I'm gonna have a little update on this. It's not really a wild dog. We did have somebody lost a couple of sheep on Sand Road.
I heard about it.
So I did go out and have a chat with them, took some pictures. I have a hard time believing it was an actual dog because these sheep were involved, like disemboweled, so I'm thinking it must have been a coyote. But they are gonna reach out to Lori, because I guess they are registered sheep breeders, so they can get compensation for the loss of their 3 sheep.
Well, those always go for the tower, the heart and the liver first.
Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty torn up, so I really hard to believe. I know there was a witness, and the gentleman did say that he looked like it was a beagle, but I don't, my own opinion, I don't think it was a dog. Because they were, like I said, they were pretty much.
I don't think there's a big one close there.
No, and I did stop and talk to somebody that was close. They had 2 dogs, but their dogs never leave the yard. And so I just kind of put the word out that to keep an eye out if they see anything. And Tammy was out there with me as well, and she was kind of going door to door. So
Well, and I believe they were pretty young sheep too,
Yeah.
and we know what they attract, right? Yeah, my brother used to raise sheep, and it's hard to keep anything away from them.
he did move them. I guess they're doing some logging or stripping, taking some red pine.
Yeah, just at
Yeah.
Sound Road.
So he moved them out to a field closer to the house to keep an eye on them.
Yeah,
I haven't heard any sense from him, so hopefully it just worked out for him. So other than that, I mean, there's not a lot going on now. I did get a call today about somebody was worried about, somebody must be leaving their puppy outside, and the dog was kind of a little scared about the thunder, so I'll deal with that. They were very vague on where it was. They said somewhere up on Jesse Street or close by. So it's gonna be kind of hard to track this one down. So I'll do what I can.
Drive around looking for a puppy.
Or, yeah, with the windows down.
Yeah.
Just drive real slow. So with parking, there has been some concerns on Victoria Street, and I have been taking frequent drives up there just to keep an eye on it. And if I do find someone, I'll give them one warning. I created another tag. I will be taking a picture of their license plates, documenting it. And then if I go back again, and I'll keep a database, and if I see it again, they will get a ticket. I am working with Jim McBain from MLES and Mertru to update our parking tickets, and I have a sample of what the new ones are gonna look like. Those are from Greater Madawaska, but it's gonna look similar to that. So we'll, again, I'll just keep monitoring the situation. Other than that, I haven't, nothing. Everything's been good. I don't even want to say the late because it could be like Beetlejuice, so.
Nice thing is that
but the thing is, hey, we're in Bonaire Valley, they're wonderful people.
Yeah.
Hey, even when you go up to them, Darrell, oh, my apologies. We'll
at
fix
least
that.
Victoria Street's an easy drive for you, as
Yeah.
well, which is nice just for logistically for you.
Absolutely.
So.
And even on the weekends, because I know it's probably more, that's when it's happening, so
Yeah.
I'll just take a drive up just once in a while. If I can't study anything, if I see somebody, then I'll deal with
What's my license plate number on this, Darrell?
it. Well, I guess you were parking illegally. up there in Madawaska.
That's your warning, you can keep it.
For the record, it wasn't my license. plate.
You know, stolen vehicle. So building, you have my monthly report. And building permits have been coming in, not at a steady clip, but I'm been able to stay on top of it. So I'm not getting backed up, which I do like. So they just keep coming in. I have been dealing with some for minor variances because they don't understand that there's a 5 meter height requirement for accessory buildings. So I'm really enforcing that.
The which, no, Darrell?
Accessory buildings, there's a 5 meter height restriction.
Yes, no, and that was, so, yeah, so you're 15,
It's
Let's look.
16 and a half feet.
that's to the top of the peak or is that to the edge of
That's
the
average.
wall?
That's the average. Like, what I do is I calculate from the top of the slab to the top of the wall. So if that's 10 feet, then I figure out from the top of the wall to the top of the ridge. And if that's 10 feet, I cut that number in half. I add the two together. And I come up with 15 feet. That's under 5 meters.
Okay,
It just keeps the accessory buildings on up. So they're not sticking out of the ground like crazy, because a house you can get up to 7.5 meters, accessories are 5. In an industrial zone, I think you get 7.5 as well for an accessory. A lot of people, I don't seem to think they're aware of it, but it's an education, so and everybody seems to be, there's been no problems.
so why, educate me, why is it that they're restricted to that height?
It's in the zoning. I don't know why there's a restriction on the accessory buildings. It seems to be that's the norm for most townships. I guess that what they don't want is these accessory buildings to be sticking up taller than a house.
To be monster.
Yeah,
Well, but the thing is, if I ever built a garage, I would have to go enough where I could get in, you know, I need 14 feet door
yeah.
to get in.
Well, then
right?
you
So-
just have to go through a minor variance.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it exceeds it, it's just not a
Just
variance
a minor
policy, and that's when.
And the one garage I'm holding on to now, I gave the person the option, but I think they're gonna take it back to their designer, and try and bring the roof down.
Interesting.
So again, I mean, it's been going well. Just for some information for you guys, just so you know that effective immediately, it used to be a 10 by 10 was the minimum size. Now it's gone up to 15 square meters or 161 square feet.
So that actually pertains to with Kevin, right? Because if we don't need a permit for 160, at 8 by 20 is 160.
Right.
So you don't need for the,
But CCAN still aren't allowed.
Distillery.
but it's under 161 square
It
feet.
doesn't matter.
So-
CCANs aren't
On
allowed.
the current zone.
If there's a,
We will call them storage places.
if there's a complaint made,
We'll put a set of curtains over Jack's and the ones out at the,
Exactly.
the ones out at the, at the roads.
At the roads
department.
department,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, I
there's
cover those up
adequate
in the
amount of sea cans in our municipality.
Yes.
I do believe the new zoning is speaking to it, so.
Yes.
I know the one where Greater Madawaska, they were permitted, provided you did a buffer zone, so you can't kind of out of sight, out of mind, right? So I'm not sure if that's what's going on here or not, but seems like that seems.
I don't think there's a buffer.
No.
zone.
But that is big news though, because a lot of people were 10 by 10 is what they always went by with their sheds or whatever. and Now you're allowed to go 8 by 20.
The only thing we're gonna have to be careful of, and I know Claus Cross was having an issue in Laurentian Valley where someone was building 10 by 10. Then they say, oh, I can build another 10 by 10. Then another 10 by 10. So they're starting to stack them all up, thinking that they could get away with it. So I don't, if there's a provision in the bylaw.
I don't think that's gonna become the norm.
Well, apparently it was with him and he put a stop to it, but
Yeah,
it's just something we'll just have to keep an eye on.
I think so.
Were they all attached or
Well,
were
that's the
they?
thing, they were stacking them up beside each other, so your footprint was actually increasing. So we go
Okay.
200 square feet, down to 300 square feet, but there is a provision of most zones, you can only cover a certain percentage of your lot.
Right.
Well, that and how many accessory buildings as
Yeah,
well, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah, so. So it's, I guess, one thing I've noticed here is we have a building standards and a property standards bylaw, but we have no bylaw that pertains to building without a permit. Now, it hasn't been an issue. I am working with one guy, which I'll speak to later on. that has, I caught him without a permit, so there's nothing I can really do. There is provisions in the Building Code Act, but the fines are quite substantial. And it's probably gonna be a lot harder road to hoe, to go down that way. So I'm gonna drop the bylaw pertaining especially to building for demolition, construction permits, and with a fee structure. If you're caught without a permit, how we're going to proceed. Typically, you just double the building fee. But I'm gonna take a look in Greater Madawaska, that's what that they did down there. I did have a gentleman show up on here, he built a complete house without a permit, and then he come and seen me. So only reason was because I had to go and inspect the septic system on his property, and his brother-in-law was a firefighter of mine. And he knew that when I walked up to do the septic, I'm gonna look at this house and realize it wasn't a permit. So he came in after the fact, so again, doubling the fee. Either that, or you maybe take a percentage of the total value, I'm not sure, I mean, we'll figure something out, I'll bring it to you, and we can move forward from there.
Interesting.
It's just something I think that we need here.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I mean, down there, the minimum for deck, whether it was 5,000 square feet or 500, it was $100 permit fee. So if you were doubling up a fee for building a deck without a permit, people are gonna do that all day for $200. So recently, we started back with our Upper Ottawa Valley chief building official chapter meetings, and they always float around. We were in Deep River the next one's going to be held here on the 28th. So it's nice to have everybody getting together again. We get together, we discuss issues and make sure we're all speaking the same language. So whatever, because contractors do move around, we want to make sure that what's happening in Bonnechere Valley, the same issue is being happening in Whitewater or Marion Township. So that's going to be, we're looking forward to that. I'm not sure if there's ever been one held here before. I really don't know. But they happen every couple of months, and we always take turns. And I try and bring a speaker in. I try to get somebody in. There's a house out there. It's called the Passive House. You might be aware of. And some of the building inspectors are not familiar with them. There was a couple of building GMs. So the contractor down there, I asked him to come up, but he just wasn't available for this round. We'll get him at some point. So we'll move on to action items. So at a request of Councillor Buckwell, I did investigate some properties on Ruby Road. Turns out that there was permits issued for both properties. One was slipped in into the crack somehow, and there was no paper trail of it anywhere. But through some working with the owner, we were able to track things down. So there was everything's good now for that one structure. We're working on another one that he built without a permit. He's submitted his plans and his permit, and I issued it today. He's coming in tomorrow. So it's again, that's going back to having a bylaw pertaining to building permits. So other than that, I said things are going really well.
Sounds like you're enjoying it too, Darryl.
Yeah.
Did we want to discuss the issue of Baptist Church Road now or later? Or is there any discussion?
I'm not sure I'm familiar what's going on up there.
It wasn't added to the agenda, I don't think.
Well, no, well, there's a letter. We got a letter on file. Did you get a copy of it?
I did not.
Baptist Church Road.
I didn't get an email.
I'm not sure, but maybe Merv just, if you do have a document.
Oh, is
just-
that the one for the property?
For the house, building a
Oh,
house on there.
yes, I did see that.
And the gravel pit is sterilized it, and I mean, is there anything we can do to?
I believe when the new zoning, when it goes through, I believe that you'll be able to get a bill.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. I know where
Yes,
you're getting
now
at.
I
was asking
know.
about it,
Okay,
so.
sorry. Yeah.
So it's kind of a limbo.
They want to
right now.
build exactly where the old
Yeah.
heritage house or whatever you want to call it, built in the 1800s.
I forgot that was on Baptist Church.
Yes.
That Baptist Church Road.
That on Wayne's old place?
I don't know who's there.
I think so.
I don't know. All that I know is the times that I've been up Baptist Church Road, there isn't a heck of a lot there. You can't, what is the house difference is the house gonna make on Baptist Church Road?
But it'll be fine once the zoning bylaw is passed.
So that's what, that's just being held back right now.
Yeah.
I talked to the contractor and the contractor's related to.
Yeah, okay, good.
So how will the new zoning bylaw rectify that?
I think it's because there's a lot of record, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
because but they don't actually have the exact location, but thereabouts, right?
They were
Yeah.
pretty
Pretty
close
close,
though.
yeah. Yeah, and there are, like, I was up there with the contractor and he did show me this going in pretty close to the existing footprint. There's already outbuildings there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, so. So again, we're just dealing with the issues and working through them and,
Yeah, because of the existing, it's grandfathered in.
yeah. it's done.
Yeah, it was existing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was one there.
So that's all I have.
perfect. Anything for Daryl?
No, and just, you know, a case by case right now, you
Yeah.
know. Usually people will be good to you, be good with it when I see you're getting that response
Yes.
with everything there, Darrell, you know, with the permits and stuff like that, so.
Well, again, it's just,
Yeah.
it's an education for some people, but I think that, you know, and I have no problem explaining, you know, whenever something comes up. Same with this, same with the violations. I just, you know, the gentleman at, in Groton, he called me yesterday and told me he had the yard cleaned up and I took the drive out this morning. And he got ahead of himself, so I called him again. We had another discussion, but he is taking care of it. Now, in the bylaw for property, he is allowed to have 2 vehicles there. But he's cleaning up everything else that's sitting around his gone. So, and again, he put a cement pad down on a building permit. So we're working with that too. See, this is where the bylaw, I mean, that's gonna hopefully diffuse that situation.
Well, have yourself a great day, sir. Thanks.
Bye, Daryl.
We'll just take 5-minute break before we move to Annette's report. That can you just take us off.
Jack is blowing up.
There you go.
We're good to go. Perfect. Annette, we have your report now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I do have the any financial reports in the packages, if there's any questions.
Nope, they look good.
So Sandra and I did attend the AMCTO Municipal Conference last week, and we participated in multiple sessions, changes to municipal case law, freedom of information request, digitization, modernization, lots of really great information that was shared. And some I will bring forward when we're discussing issues coming forward to council that I found, especially the municipal case law, were definitely relevant to some of the things we want to do in the future. As well as I was appointed to the AMCTO board for a 2-year term.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And gave us lots of opportunities to network with colleagues and talk about what's going on and review the municipal election. And I'm sure that came up more than one time and promote basically what we're doing here in the municipality. Mayor Murphy and I are also making delegation requests that are due this Friday for the AMO conference in August. We are going to be making requests to the Ministry of Labor, not the Ministry of Health, sorry, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions is actually who we're going to be filing with. And we were going to file with the Ministry of Infrastructure, but changing that, I think, to the Minister of Finance.
Yes.
Because Ministry of Infrastructure did just increase the OSIP funding, which is what we wanted to talk about. They doubled the fund over the next few years. So instead, I think we're going to talk about maybe the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, which has not changed in quite a long time. And as we all know, the operating costs continue to increase, especially with insurance, which I also want to talk about, which wasn't included in my report, but I want to have a quick conversation about that before I close out my report.
I actually brought that up before, right, when we we're going into insurance with our previous CAO. I brought that up with the increase of the deductible.
Okay.
I did.
Yes.
I remember
we did.
that too.
I do. And he'd been asked prior to that as well. Anyway, yeah, so when Annette wrote this, it was correct. But things change on a dime with the province. And apparently we will be finding out who the ministers are, hopefully imminently.
Yeah.
So we're certainly hoping that Michael Tobolo, MPP Tobolo, will still be the Minister of Mental Health.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's our, because we made great strides with he and his staff.
I guess my question for like an actual like a delegation request, could we not just bring like a picture of like grad and prior towards like the quarry boundaries? Like what it used to look like for the setbacks and then what it looks like now, we'll just be like, hey, this is like from the rural lens, just because it doesn't impact our like the
With
significant
the
amount of
Ministry of Municipal Affairs
repairs.
and Housing.
Just because we have an updated map of it, and the thing is, it's clear side by side.
We can certainly ask Steve. if
Just
he
as
would-
that, just at least, I'm sure they're well aware, but thing is,
Oh, yeah,
municipality like ours, like, it's just one more.
And that's not gonna change anytime soon. So we
No.
certainly, even if we didn't do it at AMO, we certainly can add that to our Roma delegation.
Well, I think it just
January.
makes sense because we heard time and time again at
Yeah.
the public meeting and you can see our maps, how much they change. Thing is in 5 years, it's gonna change again probably.
But mineral aggregate was one of the things that we felt we won on, and you heard that from Bruce as well.
Yeah.
So we try and use our delegation time because again, delegations are generally only 15 minutes.
Mhm.
So you gotta get in, get out. But I can certainly also ask if MPP Yakubuski and MPP Clark would meet with us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we don't have to be a delegation. We could
No.
have a conversation
Yeah.
online for sure.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
just something to keep the ball rolling, just enough for us, I guess.
Yep.
Sit at the table. That'd be great.
The employee handbook that was passed by council has been shared with the staff and county planning staff that was here that one day, the first day that they were here, they were packed. They had meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. So people were really taking advantage of it, which is great to have them nearby so that people don't have to drive to Pembroke to sort of discuss future development opportunities for their properties. So that first one was very successful. They're back in July, so I would assume they're gonna be just as busy on that time of people looking for general inquiries and
Mhm.
severances and things like that. So
Counselor Sid?
Yeah, that worked, really good. I was here, hey, when they were doing that.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed in the last 6 months is with our price of fuel, that might be something to consider, because I know even now when we go to Pembroke, which isn't that far away. We plan to do a bunch of stuff, so you're not, double dipping in the gas tank. So I'm sure that's gonna affect a lot of the ratepayers in Bolger Valley, when we can, bring it here. The more we can bring it here, the better it is.
Well, and I think that there'd been some discussion at the county also about solidifying some terms of reference for this particular initiative that they've obviously just instituted, and in trying to find new planners for the county of Renfrew. And what I offered was you can use Bonnechere Valley as a template, because apparently they really enjoyed coming here. And the residents, as Annette said, apparently the residents were so thankful that they didn't have to go to the county. And I think that this is, just one more step forward of the county offering services to the local tiers that we don't have to pay for. Right? We're not gonna hire a planner. And so I don't disagree with you about gas, by the way. I went to county every single day last week, so.
No, it's a big thought now,
It is.
whereas, say 2 years ago, well, it's not a big deal. We can,
Exactly.
but people are really thinking about it now more, absolutely, because it's gonna affect your grocery bill and everything else, so.
No kidding.
Don't
For
slip
sure.
into Pembroke for Chinese dinner or something.
No, it's not the same.
Perfect.
We go to Golden Lake and get it taken.
Perfect. Go ahead, Annette.
So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is, as we were talking about increasing costs, is the deductibles. So if we increase our deductibles from 10,000 to 25,000 on our insurance, we can save $6,120 a year. So it doesn't mean that our insurance is still not going to increase this year. Of course, it is still going to increase, but it would have an overall increase of 15% instead of 18.8%. So I am recommending that we do increase the deductibles to 25,000. Unless maybe has
Is it 25 or 20,000?
25.
25.
So from 10,000, it's 10,000 right now, and I would like to increase it to 25,000 in order to keep our increase as low as possible.
I'm okay with that.
Susan Rosner.
I'm fine with it too. I just wondered how many, based on 10,000, how many of the insurance claims have we had that recently, like none hardly, right? that
None
we-
since I've been here.
Yeah.
So it's.
Because even when we had the issue at the library, that wasn't an insurance claim or anything.
No.
We had to pay for that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm fine with it. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
me too.
Yeah,
Gotta take a little risk.
thanks, Annette. I brought this up like 4 years
And
ago.
25,000 pretty much gets what the whole 10,000.
But I
is
think the
anyway, so.
What we were also talking about was self-insuring,
Yeah.
and not just,
No, and I know that's, not able to do, but bringing that up, absolutely, because even for the most part, if it's under, 10,000 right now, you're gonna do it in-house anyway.
That's right,
absolutely, yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
so for
Okay.
sure, and Sandra's just telling me none in years, only one ever when the grader burnt. So, if.
No, and if
If
it's,
one of our graders did burn, like 25,000 is
Yes.
dropping. the bucket,
so
Yeah.
here's another thing, when it goes to greater or burning,
Mhm.
for the most part, you might wanna check into it, Annette, because I've had lost equipment.
Mhm.
A lot of times the fire is not,
the deductible's not the same.
no, and a lot of times they waive the deductible
Sometimes they
on a
do.
fire,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So in the event of, but anyway, with that being said.
Yeah.
The big equipment, if it's a $200,000 or $300,000 truck, it's,
10,000 or 25,000.
That's right.
$6,000
At least for
a year,
six-
it's gonna pay for
absolutely.
itself.
yeah.
Good.
Perfect.
Thank you. That's all I have.
That's
Mr. Chair.
everything. Okay, yeah, let's move on to correspondence A. Any discussions? Okay, moving on to correspondence B. And we already discussed, I believe, the letter for the zoning bylaw comments. So besides that, anything from anyone else? No. Perfect. We'll move on to correspondence C, and there's nothing, so we'll move on to new unfinished business. Library board update. Pretty much summer programs are gonna be rolling ahead, a lot of activity going on, which is really good. A lot of involvement from the youth, which is really good, and they have a summer student hired as well. Pretty much it's more just a reminder for everyone, the Bonnechere Authors Festival, it runs every Monday in July. So the dates are July 4th, July 11th, July 18th, and July 25th. So just let me or anyone in the library know if you want some tickets for it, and be lots of fun.
Murphy's Auto is the sponsor, so I
You
think I
are?
should probably go.
Yep,
Yeah.
hopefully at least one day. So there's a deal too. It's $20 a day, and $60 if you buy a season's pass, which gets you available to 4 authors. There will be some refreshments and a small amount of desserts. They'll be there as well. So pretty much just get a community builder and refreshments are provided. So see, lots of fun. That's it for library board update.
Did they do the planter boxes again this year? Did they try that again?
At the actual library itself.
Yes,
They have, oh, you mean the gardens?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have them all
They
there.
planted last year and
Yeah.
then people stole it.
Yeah, no, so it's actually
Stole
when
the veggies on them?
those flower pots, it's on my agenda. I have to go just throw a screw and secure them a bit better so no one walks away with the planter box. So whatever they actually should be installing time soon because the actual book sale is gonna be coming up too. So
I didn't know
I'll
about,
be sending everyone a reminder for that on the exact location. So
I didn't know about the planter boxes, but I understand they were taking the veggies out of them. People were stealing the veggies. out.
I thought
Yeah,
that's what they're for. It's a
I
community
thought
garden.
well, there's the community garden side, and then there's like 6 there. I think there's 6 or there's 8 of the planters there. They're like it's a raffle for like people's garden space. So each of them are individual
Oh.
boxes, and then the community garden's on the other side. So there was confusion last year for it. I think a couple things
But
got lacking.
I tell you though, their raccoons are friendlier.
Yes, they are. So that is everything for library board update. If there's anything, you can send me an email.
They're known to be bandits too.
For EGC update.
Yes, we had our annual general meeting,
GM, yep.
AGM, and we've elected our roles, board members. We have Brent as the treasurer,
Secretary.
Merv as the secretary.
I mean, I gotta wear a skirt.
If you like, Brent, by all means.
I enjoy being the secretary and every
Yeah, so,
group. It's the
anyway,
best, it's the
Brett's
best
the secretary.
role, most important.
Madam Vice President,
Yep,
right, and I am El Presidente
yep,
again.
we just kept our roles.
We, everything stayed the same. As far as it goes, Doreen is helping our numbers actually improve, actually pretty good last one.
Yeah, the numbers are,
From last year too.
the numbers are such that now we're getting close to recouping the losses that we had in the early part of the year.
Yeah, we,
Due to
from the bad freshet.
Yeah, due to the lack of rain, fall rains and lack of snow cover this year. But due to the rains we're having right now, the numbers are pretty well on base as to what they were last year at this time.
And we passed the budget.
Past the budget, everything looks good.
Yep,
2 thumbs up.
yep.
Perfect. And then number 3, the Ukrainian fundraiser.
So as you heard in Gerald's email to us, they were wondering if we could fly the Ukrainian flag. I don't know the protocols at this time. I know that we cannot fly it with the Canadian flag. I don't think we can fly it with the Ontario flag. I believe we can fly it underneath our township flag. But I wanted to open it up to comments, questions, concerns about putting it out front here on our flagpole. Oh, and I didn't recognize that there's a rip in the Canadian flag. It's being taken care of.
Mhm.
And any of the other flags downtown before July 1st.
The truck, I think, was out today, actually, was it not? Because it was taking the ribbon or the
Yeah,
banner, it was
Oh.
taking the banner
Oh,
down.
they were taking the banner down.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because they were blocking the bridge. so
Yeah.
it's not
Okay.
that.
So I wanted to know what you guys think. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gift. And again, it came with, I will tell you, when he handed it to me, I burst into tears. So I hope that photo's not going to be in the Eganville Leader. It was very, it was very emotional. Alternately, would you like to hang it in here for a period of time?
I think there's a flag protocol and I think you're right. You can hang it underneath their township.
I think only our township.
Only
now.
our township. Yes, you
Yes.
can't do the federal. I used
Yeah.
to know this crap because we fly it. But I had to. But yeah, if you wanted to fly it out there for a couple of weeks and then put it in here.
The only thing, it's been it was a huge success. And it's great to the whole community all around. And hats off to Gerald for doing it.
And his team.
And his team, but kickstarting it and getting it going. Absolutely. I caution with the flags we've said, I don't want to is there a place within the municipality we could do it to honor the system or whatever other than on our poles?
And I know what you're saying because we have said no
Yes,
to the
and-
Every Child Matters flag
Yes.
and the pride flag.
absolutely.
So that's why I'm opening it up.
Well, I think, I don't know, I put a lot of thought, I guess, into it. I think, how I look at it, it's an amazing fundraiser in a community, raised 90,000, 91,000. We have an electronic sign out there. Kind of how I looked at it is that it's a little different than a lot of the other organizations. It's a country's flag that we would be hanging as well. So I guess my personal recommendation is they have until the June 30th is their goal to raise that 100,000. So in my opinion, I have no problem if we put it out up until like the June 30th, and we should support them with our electronic sign though, to keep the public updated on the amounts that we have raised and see if we can exceed it, support them the best we can. Because the thing is, 90,000 in a small community like ours it impacts a huge amount of the local residents as well from the Ukrainian descent. So the thing is how I look at it. And then after that, I think it'd be important for us to put either a thank you at the arena, just temporarily, up at council, or we can put it somewhere else after that.
Well,
But I think-
that was, okay, so I agree with you. I think that this is particularly different, that it is a country's flag.
Mhm.
But I was also wondering about the arena.
Mhm.
Yeah.
These those were the other alternative, but it's the thing is I think we should support the group of volunteers that put this all together. And the thing is like raising $90,000 and that close to 100,000 with say 10 days remaining, 9 days. I think we should just continuously be using our brand new electronic sign to help promote it, the amount of people coming through. And hey, if that gets us to the goal and we can support the group for the goal, and then we can transition it to the arena. But I think it is different than conversations we have had in the past where we've said no, because I don't want to open the floodgates of having 100 flags out there. I think this is a very
That's-
different avenue. And I think we've set a duration up until the June 30th, and then we can put in the arena and just an appreciation to the volunteers and everyone that raised money.
Well, and I
Good
think when
idea.
it comes to the Truth and Reconciliation flag, I also think that we've given space for the Truth and Reconciliation Garden. There are signs going up there. We are acknowledging the atrocities that they've been through in a very special and permanent way. This would be a temporary flag. But again, I knew that it was gonna come up as sort of controversial because we have said no.
Well, we've said no to different organizations and different things. This is like Brent touched on, is totally different subject, and it's a country that's really, we're doing all we can to support them. And I think the biggest thing we have to be sure of, and that we don't do anything against the normal flag protocols like Merv's talking about and that yourself have mentioned. And I would support something as a short term, like from now until the 30th, but I don't know that's our time and our goal to raise this amount of money and do what we can for them.
But then I would like to send it back down to the arena.
Yeah.
I think the arena and Kevin being as, that was where it was held and everything else,
Exactly.
right? And,
And it needs a permanent home.
no,
Like, I
absolutely.
don't want
So,
this being
Well, this
put-
is
I don't
a
want-
massive, this was the massive event in the last 2.5 years.
Exactly.
They raised a substantial amount of money. So with the last 10,000, I'm sure they're gonna raise it. But if we can help out as the municipality, then I think that makes sense, right?
But I don't want it to sit in a drawer.
No.
Right?
Oh, no,
It was a
no.
gift from the embassy
Mhm.
and it was like, I don't know how much of Gerald's speech she's going to print, but oh my gosh, guys,
All the thing, the whole thing.
the whole thing,
That's the whole.
because it was beyond, like, we don't know. We don't know, guys.
So
It was wild.
is it possible to put it up on the electronic sign, as you stated, with a flag on the electronic sign? And have this flag up somewhere in, like, we could take down the Boulder Valley sign, because I don't know that ours could hold two flags.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
So by the time we get that organized, it's
It'll be
probably
passed.
June 30th.
okay.
So I don't know how difficult it is to take our flag down there. I don't know how big that flag is.
It's
to fit
huge.
there. well, then I don't know if we spread it across the back wall there or something like that. to
So
acknowledge
from the,
it
yeah,
here,
from
but
back
then also-
corner to back
But
corner.
also on the sign, because that could be done in a timely manner.
Well, I was gonna say the time, like the sign, we can roll it to like the amount remain, like the amount
That's
remaining
right,
for the
that's right. And
goal
we
with
can
the
have the-
We
flag.
can have the Ukrainian flag,
Flag
that's a
on
really
the
good
sign, a
idea.
picture of it on the sign, and we can
Yeah.
put that at, like there. So it's up, it's acknowledged here, and then it can be moved to the arena, but I don't know if we can do it, so I don't want to,
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't want by the time we get things organized next week, we're,
It's over.
it's over, okay.
so.
But yes, if we could do that immediately tomorrow, that would be lovely. But yeah, it's a real flag, guys. It's like it's enormous.
Mhm. But I also know we don't have any more meetings in here until July 12th,
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's better at the arena currently. If there's
Oh,
more
yes.
people
I think you're better
going there
off.
now.
Even
well,
Make it
if we,
right to the
because if
arena.
we-
Move it right
because if
to the
we
arena.
aren't going to, if we aren't able to have capacity put out front there, then we can move it to the arena, and then we can have the electronic sign, as you say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That makes-
That's a great
that makes
idea.
total sense.
okay.
Yeah, take it right to the arena and it's
Yeah.
on display, people can do
Right,
whatever.
because
Yeah,
even
sure,
if we
That's
display it
fine.
in here, I don't know who's gonna see it.
that's
We have
right,
no more meetings in here.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's my only.
it's just such I mean, yeah, I've got, every time I think about it, I get goosebumps.
I'll ask Kevin to find a spot in the arena to hang it. I'm sure there's a spot on the wall
So-
we can hang it to have it displayed.
Because of the location of where the leader is, you can see it from the upper street and lower street.
Mhm.
What Gerald, because he did an amazing job of raising the money, would he put it up for 9 days or 10 days or as long as he wants? And then put it as a home at the
Yeah,
arena?
I can ask him that as well. Yeah, I don't know. what
Because of
space he
flag
had for
protocol and everything
I
else,
know.
and you can see.
And I'm fine with taking down our Bonnecher Valley flag to put that up for 9 days, but I didn't think that
Yeah, we could do
the
that.
two wouldn't.
The two might not work, but if you
No.
want me to take down the Bonter Valley sign or Bonter Valley flag and put this one up, we can do that.
For 9 days, I think that'd be nice.
Yeah,
But I really do like your idea of
Yeah.
the sign with the,
If you have the sign rolling on the automatic sign, and
Yeah, that's
it gives the update.
The
I think
sign's
that's-
easy.
yeah.
We can have a picture of the flag on the sign, but yes, we could.
okay, then ask Gerald, and if not, send it to the arena, but I think that we're all saying that we'd like it put up with pride, right? Like we want it,
display.
it's gotta have a good display place.
So I mean, if you put it up in the, I'm wondering if we put it up in the Eagle's Nest, like where the windows are. So if you're down on the arena floor, you can look up and see it in the windows. Or if you're upstairs, you can see it displayed across the windows.
Men's night might not like that because they look down.
Oh,
I'm sure we can find a beautiful
oh,
place
I
for
know
it.
that, yeah.
But thank you very much, council. I appreciate it. It was just, it's quite something. And when you read the leader tomorrow, it was quite the speech. And we had a lot of newcomers that are staying with different residents around the county that came out. And they told some of their stories, but like just standing on the arena floor. It was quite something, mothers and their children here without the fathers, and we do have a lovely gentleman that sent me just a beautiful email. His wife is Ukrainian. They were there with their children on Friday night, and it was very emotional for Natalia and her family. So yeah, it was just it was a beautiful moment. Anyway.
See, this is the second kind of run with the Ukrainians. We had a run for Ukrainians, a number came in the 50s.
Really?
Yes, there's two of our neighbors settled in the 50s.
Okay.
I think actually at that time, if I remember, well, I talked to them, I think they fought with the Russians against Germany. And then they got into German because the problem they had is they could speak German, but they couldn't speak English. So, and my dad could speak German and I could speak a bit of German and help them out. And
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we're gonna, so that's everything for number 3, and that's establish the next meeting. It's in July. Do we have a
July,
date?
Well, yeah.
12th, July 12th.
And I'm the chair.
Perfect.
There you
Tim
go.
is the chair. We have established that media session.
So what's gonna happen with the zoning? You guys still need to
Find out tonight.
discuss that? Oh, tonight?
Yeah, the bylaws on the agenda for tonight.
Oh,
It's either
okay,
gonna
so you
pass
can
and be
just-
deferred.
All right. That'll be discussed tonight, okay. I'll probably watch on YouTube. If I need to get back, I'll give somebody a call.
Well, we enjoyed having you back today. Debbie.
Yeah,
great
yeah, no,
seeing you,
it
Debbie.
was good to be back. It's a lot nicer to be with in person, so anyway,
Absolutely.
we'll stick to it. I had planned on taking the month of May off, and then I just had to take a little bit more time than I anticipated, but anyway, I'm back. So great, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And we do have one closed session item, so the committee proceed in closed session in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001, section 239.2 to deal with matters as indicated below. Okay, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to negotiations carried on or be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. Could I please have a mover? And Jack, all those in favor? Perfect, thank you very much.
doing the July meeting.
Oh, man, yeah.
Keeps it moving. no?
Yeah, I have to pull the
Yeah.
magic carpet
He
out
didn't,
from underneath
though.
there.
Yeah, take that stick out of his ass.
Could I have a mover, please, to move us, committee moves out of closed
Give
session
it
to
a pull
rise and
there.
report. So Counselor Rosner, thank you, that they met to receive information, give staff direction regarding the animal shelter proposal and approved minutes from June seventh, 2022. All those in favor? Perfect. Could I please have an adjournment of the committee meeting, please?
You sure can.
Mayor Murphy, Counselor Sizzon, all those in favor? Perfect. Thank you very much. And that's everything. Annette, you can take us offline.
That was funny. We were all laughing and Annette goes like this.
Right.
Like we're all